Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Emergence and Empowerment Global Conference, in which you will be immersed in the wisdom, expertise, and breakthrough inspiration from more than 30 radical leaders, change agents, and influencers. My name is Jocelyn Mercado, and I am your host and the co-producer of this event. And you are invited here to dive in deep and gain a profound understanding of the secrets, insights, and pathways that we can collectively create in order to move through our current challenging times and birth a new way forward. Prepare to be revolutionized and supported, body, mind, heart, and soul. You will learn potent ways that you can expand your leadership and actively participate in accelerating humanity's awakening so that together we can manifest our true potential for a bright and vibrant future. And today I am very excited and honored to welcome Kadidja Yansane. Welcome, Kadidja.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Jocelyn. It's great to be here with you today and your audience.
Yes, so glad to have you here with us. And so let me introduce you to everybody. Kadidja is the founder of bloomintoyou.com and the signature program, The Client Creation Queen, 8 weeks to get clients, get paid, and live your sacred calling program. That sounds amazing, Kadidja.
It is.
She works with coaches, healers, and creative entrepreneurs to grow the confidence to put themselves out there so they can be fully self-expressed and get paid for their gifts. Through working together, her clients clarify the unique audience they are meant to serve, own their brilliance, and bloom into the women they always wanted to be. She has been a women's circle facilitator for the past 20 years and believes that collaborating with, supporting, and mentoring other women is the quickest way to reach your goals and grow your business. She's also a mom to 2 kids under 5 and understands intimately the pressures that women face to be good mothers while also fulfilling their own purpose. And so the topic of your interview today is business as spiritual practice, entrepreneurship as a path to awakening. And I love this. This has so very much been my experience for sure. So could you tell us, how did you get started on this path and how did you come to be a business coach?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I loved hearing how you introduced the summit. Like, I just was listening, even though I've been reading the copy, like, it just feels really, really powerful. And I just want to thank you again for doing this. It's so timely.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I've always been really interested and passionate about personal development and growth. And for a long time, I thought that I wanted to be a therapist. And I was checking out MFT programs, and one of the schools that I was looking at, they had a coaching program, and I was reading through it and I was like, wow, this is so powerful. And I actually started an MFT program and I was doing both at the same time. And I remember feeling like therapy was exploring the depths and coaching was exploring your potential and possibility. And in my program, I just trained to be a life coach. That was the track that I was on. And so I didn't have a niche. And at one point, I knew that I wanted to just focus primarily on women. I'm a women's studies major from Berkeley and have always sat in circles of women, and just exploring the topic of womanhood has just been at the forefront of my heart for years. And then through leading my own women's circles and coaching different types of people with no particular niche, people started asking me if I could help them get clients. And it happened a few times. And at the time, I remember working with a coach who was saying, Kadidja, it might be helpful, especially in the online world, to have a niche. And I would have never thought, I've said this before, if you've seen me before, that I would be a business coach. I had completely different ideas of what I thought business should look like. I thought women in business don't wear bright yellow, or, ethnic earrings. So I just, in my mind, business was very conservative, corporate, that I wouldn't be able to bring the whole of who I am to. And I now know that that's absolutely not the case. But those were my judgments. And, I'm a first generation Guinean West African, and my dad's a professor of economics. And he would say in college, darling, a girl like you should major in business. And I really thought that he did not get me. And it's just amazing to now at 44 be like, wow, he saw he saw me then, even though I thought he didn't see me. But um, he would always say that my personality is something that would be great in business. And I thought, because I thought it was something else, I thought that he didn't get me. But I am now a business coach, but I didn't seek out to be a business coach. I feel like it found me. But when I look through my history, I see lots of, little places where I was attracted to entrepreneurship. So like I remember in college, I bought one of those Mary Kay kits. I've done different little, multi-level marketings, whether it's like jewelry. There was one that was called Booty Parlor, and they said bedroom accessories, but they're like sex toys and lotions and potions. So like there was always a thread of me wanting to create something of my own. I just didn't label myself an entrepreneur then. So that's a long-winded way of saying how I became a business coach.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that because, it was my experience, and I've seen this happen in many clients, and I'm sure you have too, that we often don't know what we want our niche to be. Like I was like, I want to do this and I want to do that. And I want to do all these different things. But then when the clients start showing up, first the discovery calls and then the clients start showing up, it's like the universe is going to tell you what you're needed for,
Yeah, absolutely. And I say the same thing, sometimes that whole niche thing could feel really stressful, especially if you're multi-passionate and you're like, well, I like this, I like this. I don't know how to bring them all together. But I found that I just, rather than leading with my niche, I just led with what I felt called to do. So it's like I felt like I wanted to teach a class. And I think one of my first online classes, it was called The Feminine Art of Receiving, because I feel like I was exploring receiving then. I was like, I want to do a call on that. And people came to the call, and then that led to like a 4-week series. And I teach it not formally, but I feel like it's a part of my work. But just by taking the next step and doing what I felt drawn to, I feel like more information is always revealed about what the next step to take is.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. Well, so why do you say that business is a spiritual practice?
Well, I don't think that business is automatically a spiritual practice, but I feel like for people who are heart-centered entrepreneurs, for people who feel like they have gifts and skills that they want to share and you want it to be your divine right livelihood, I feel like it absolutely presents itself to be a spiritual practice and opportunity, because once you start a business, once you decide that you're going to put yourself out there, all of this resistance, all your fears, all the shadow stuff comes up. Like, am I good enough? All your stuff about money, your fears about being on camera, about talking about what you do, all of that is presented, and you get the opportunity to face yourself and to claim who you are, right? So a lot of times I hear clients, and I used to say this myself too, like, well, who am I? And so I love to actually ask the question, well, who are you? It's like when you start putting yourself out there and your business out there, you get to really uncover who you are. You're like, well, actually, so rather than who am I to do this, it's like you get to do the deep work and say like, wow, for the last 10, 15 years, I've been studying herbs or I've been studying yoga, and this is who I've worked with. So you really have the opportunity to own those parts of yourself that maybe you wouldn't own if you didn't have a business. And I think that it's a practice because just like any other practice, like yoga or meditation or even just exercise, you can have the game with yourself of like, I don't want to do it today. I'm tired. I've got laundry. I have all this other stuff to do. And so what I love to do is to take those business actions, especially ones that feel scary, to take it on as a practice. So it's not so much like, let's say you're afraid to post on social media and you have all these thoughts of, I put something out there. What if no one likes it? What if people don't respond? And so shifting it to like, I'm showing up for the practice and devoting myself to show up for my purpose, for my calling, and I'm going to post. And so like, that's a completely different energy from I'm going to post, and then you're obsessed with how people are receiving it. But then like, once you get into the dance of like, I'm showing up for myself, I'm showing up for my life, I'm showing up for my calling, I'm showing up for my business, then you'll also find that that stuff doesn't carry the same weight that it once did.
Yeah,
And you also build your confidence in the process.
definitely. Yeah, and this thing about becoming visible,
Mm.
which is absolutely necessary for our businesses to be successful, but it's such a big thing as far as like mindset and past woundings over, I spoke up in school and I was ridiculed, and like it really deep woundings that we can have around this. And when we move through those, that is deep spiritual work, I believe.
I love that you said that. It's so true. And I'll say for myself that public speaking is something that I've always had a physical sensation around. And it has shifted over time. Like I have memories of being in high school and being on stage and doing a poem. And then just my response to any time I would be up in front of people, even though I wanted to be in front of people and I wanted to say, I was a person that wanted to say, yes, I want to do that. Right. And I would have, before shock. And then the first few minutes I would start like during shock, then I'd be fine. And then afterwards it'd be like after shock, like, oh my God. And it was something that people who are really close to me, maybe because they know me well, they could see the nuances of me feeling nervous, but it didn't necessarily occur that way to other people. And over time, my relationship to speaking has changed. Like, I don't think I label it. Like, I think I used to feel really afraid and it used to make me nauseous. And I'd be like, why did I sign up for this? Oh my God. And then of course you have the experience and then you feel the high of, getting through it and delivering what you wanted to deliver. But my relationship to it has changed. And there are things that I do now beforehand so that I feel more grounded and I feel more in my body and I don't make it wrong to be afraid. Whereas before I'd be like, oh, if I'm feeling nervous and afraid, that means something is wrong. And so often I see in my practice that people take that as a sign of like, oh, maybe I'm not cut out for this, or maybe it's easy for everyone else, versus again, what you're talking about, that spiritual practice that we get to flex that muscle of showing up, of expanding our container to hold a wide range of emotions and sensations, and being okay if you mess up and it's not as your idea of what you thought it was supposed to be.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, this idea of being gentle with ourselves, being patient and easy on ourselves. We're so hard on ourselves usually. And as entrepreneurs, like I think we need to give ourselves a lot more credit because it takes huge courage
Oh my God.
to step out and say, I'm gonna, I don't want to do this corporate job anymore or whatever it was, like I want to take my own path. Often like our family and friends may not understand, may not agree with what we're speaking about, and it can be really like it takes a tremendous amount of courage to stand up with your message, to do something different. And yeah, we need to be so much easier on ourselves.
Yes, it does take so much courage and it takes leadership. And I find that sometimes, I think for myself, I know that if I look back, like, yes, I've always had, I've been a leader, but I think that some women shy away from that word. And I think that a leader is someone that's willing to go first. It doesn't mean that you're perfect. You're willing to mess up. You're willing to test things out. And you're right, it takes incredible courage. It takes ovaries to put yourself out there and say, I'm going to try something new and I'm going to step away from, maybe what you've been taught or societal expectations of you, and to forge something new. So I think it's important, like, take this moment and acknowledge yourself for saying that this is something that I want to make a stake in the ground for. And I believe in this and I'm willing to show up imperfectly. So yeah, it takes
Absolutely.
immense courage.
Yes. Well, in your work with your clients, what are some of the biggest challenges that you see that women run into with this kind
Yeah. Well, I think you mentioned one. Visibility is definitely a challenge that people bump up against. So, it just could be something as simple as just saying, I'm doing this now. I'm now a coach, or I'm now offering, so showing up on camera, through your writing, on social media, showing up in the world, just for the reasons that we mentioned, just because you don't know how it's going to be received, and it's incredibly vulnerable to put yourself out there. That's definitely a big challenge. Comparing yourself to other people
of?
is another big challenge. And so, especially in the online world or in the personal development space, it can be really easy to fall into the trap of seeing where other people are, and maybe they're further along in their journey than you, but you're starting here and you're comparing yourself to people that are further um, along than you. I see the challenge of perfectionism, thinking that your website needs to be perfect, your content needs to be perfect, you need to look perfect in order for people to want to work with you. And that's absolutely not the truth. And I will say that doesn't mean that you can't have a standard to what you want to create. But if you consistently find that you keep postponing showing up, the things that you want don't happen, you might want to consider that you're placing high expectations on yourself. And I find that we perfect things over time. That once you start something and it's already created some momentum, you're actually more likely to shift it and improve it than you are just sitting in your mind thinking about, all the improvements you're going to make. And so it's so funny because they always say that when you prepare a talk, right, you want to add 5 to 10 minutes to it when you actually deliver, because you're not taking into consideration that there's an audience, that maybe they're laughing and you're going to pause and they're going to respond. So it's definitely a co-creative process. You can't create perfection on your own, especially when it comes to your work. You have to engage with the process, get the new information, and then adjust. So I would say those are some three big ones: visibility, comparisonitis, and perfectionism.
Yeah, yes, definitely. And yeah, that the comparison thing, that's really tough. That comes up, I think, at all levels. When
Absolutely.
starting out, it's super strong, but even when we're like getting up to higher levels of our business with success, it's still like there's always going to be someone who's further along, making more money, whatever. So like if we can just realize that like we're each on our own path, where we are is absolutely perfect, you know, and that can bring a lot of peace. But it's hard.
It is. And it's true. Like, I always think about pregnancy, it's like if you were 3 months pregnant
Yeah.
and I was, okay, let's say you were 3 months pregnant and I was 7 months pregnant. Like, we don't compare ourselves and think like, oh, wow, she's 7 months and I'm 3 months. It's like, we both know that our baby's going to get delivered, and it's like, there's a process of just gestation with our work. And sometimes there are setbacks. And I do believe that there are deeper reasons sometimes that you might not be currently aware to why maybe you've paused on a project, or why your time hasn't come. Maybe there are other things, other skills that you need to prepare you to birth your business baby or project. But yeah, I love what you said about practicing gentleness with ourselves, and like I honor where I'm at right now, and like enjoy the process. Because I think part of what makes someone a heart-centered entrepreneur or a spirit-led entrepreneur is that they don't just want the attainment of the goal, like they want all of it, like the ride of not believing in yourself to believing in yourself, from not being sure to being sure, from growing your audience from 5 people, including your mom, to 500,000 or more. So it's like, enjoy all of it. Like, it's a gift that we get to enjoy all of it. That's what we signed up for, but it's easy to forget in the minutia of details and comparing yourself to others.
Yeah, it's a journey, right? It's a journey. It's about the journey, not about the destination, right? Because we're always going to be evolving and moving forward. So yeah, I love what you said there. Like, enjoy where you are.
Yeah.
So there's a lot, we can have big blocks and resistance around money,
Mm.
right? When we're trying to be in business, and but also it's, you know, it's about this larger purpose, and it's our spiritual path to be creating this business, right? But then money comes in and like can throw everything all off track. So how can we like reconcile that, you know, selling and being a spiritual person, like
Mm.
receiving money and being a spiritual person? Because often those seem to be very much at odds.
Oh my God. It can feel like it's at odds, for sure. And I think that a lot of spiritual entrepreneurs bump up against this. I know I've bumped up against it and bump up against it at different degrees, you know? And I think we want to first check our premise, you know, like, is it really, like, selling is neutral, you know, money is neutral. We put all kinds of projections onto it. So selling is an exchange. So you give me a product or a service and I give you money for it. And I think that there's so many times in the day where we do this and we don't even think about it. Like, you just go to the gas station, you pay for your gas, and you move on. You don't get into this whole dialogue of like, I mean, well, maybe you might say, okay, it's cheaper over here on this side, this gas store is cheaper than the one across the way, or like, gas prices have gone up so much. But what I mean ultimately is that we have so many financial transactions spiritual or philosophical or less tangible the way gas does, the way food does. Um, I think, and especially as women, I think you're taught to help, you're taught to serve, and that should be free. So a lot of skills like listening, holding space, intuitive skills, you're expected to do that, and we shouldn't charge for that. But even before money, I believe that there is sacred exchange, right? So, I mean, if we even talk about dowry, and I'm not trying to get into like whether dowry is right or wrong or not, but it's like there's this thing of exchange. Like, I'm going to give you shells, I'm going to give you a goat, I'm going to prepare a meal. So like, you're honoring that someone's giving and that you're receiving. And so I think just even starting with noticing how we give and receive. Like, there are times when I've hosted free women's circles, and a participant has brought me like some fruit or lavender, you know, like, it's a thank you. And it's an honoring of the fact that I'm holding and creating space. And so I think it's also imperative to think about, like, what are all the good things that money allows you to do, like, and to be thinking about people who you really appreciate what they do with their money, how it could has a possibility to allow you to serve at various degrees. So whether that's to serve your family, your home, your aging parents, to your community, to the world at large. And so I think it's a practice, an ongoing practice, because I feel like even when you make some headway in your relationship to money, um, maybe the next time you increase your prices, or you're going to keep coming up against something that gives you an opportunity to reevaluate how you relate to money.
Yeah.
And so I find that the more you can receive in other areas of your life, the easier it becomes to receive money for your services. Like I started with $25 an hour, and the only reason I was getting paid as a coach $25 an hour was because in our coaching program, they said you had to charge a minimum of $25, right? So I, of course, chose the minimum. And I was thinking, and this was 10 years ago or 11 years ago, I was like, who's going to pay $25, right? And I remember getting a check because people wrote checks a lot then. I got a check and I was like, wow. And I felt like I coached them for an hour and it felt really easy. So there was a part of me that felt like I would do this for free, but they're paying me for it. And then that feeling I still had as I continually increased my prices. So whether it was $100, whether to a package, I think my first package was $1,000. I noticed that I was still feeling the same feeling, even though the price was the same. And I now think I noticed that my relationship to what I'm giving has shifted. So I quickly want to say that I used to be a doula, and I remember we had a certain number of births to do to get trained. And I didn't feel comfortable charging because I was like, I haven't done it before. And then I attended the birth. And that was like my kind of wake up call of like, oh, wow. So even though I hadn't done it before, that still didn't change my presence and my being there and supporting that woman and her family during birth. So it's just interesting, just noticing what stories I'm making up about money, and is it true? Is it serving me? Is it not serving me? What can I choose instead? So those are some those
Yeah,
are some thoughts.
so much there. There's just so much because we have so many preconceived beliefs and woundings around money, I feel. But I think a big part, like, and a couple things you said made me think of this. Such a big part of it is really claiming our own value. Like when your first time, actually serving as a doula at a birth, like you probably knew exactly what to do in certain situations that you didn't even realize
Mhm.
like it's more than just the training kicking in. It's that whatever path we're on, we have a natural ability to just know what to do. And same thing with coaching. Like I think, like you said, it was easy. Like those first calls, I remember at the beginning when I was doing coaching thinking, wow, where did that come from? Like I really helped this person so much. And I don't even know, I don't even know exactly where that idea came from, but I knew exactly what to share with them.
Mm.
So like really giving ourselves credit for all the magic that we bring, and that it's transformation,
Yeah.
that we're gifting to people here. So it's
So
really
true.
valuable.
And if you find it hard, I think, to see it for yourself, I'm sure if you just think about people in your life, like what are they saying to you? Like how are they mirroring back to you your skills, your talents? Because you probably hear themes of you're such a great listener, or you're the person that people come to as a sounding board, or if someone's child is sick, you're the person that they call, right? So if it's hard for you to take that in for yourself, like let your community mirror that back to you, and be willing to like
I love
own that that's true.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Well, we have this such a crazy situation now that has changed so much over just the last month or so with the coronavirus and everybody being at home. And now as moms and working, we have kids at home while we're running our businesses. So do you have any recommendations? I know you have small kids and I have kids that are still fairly small, and it's a challenge, right? To
Oh
like
my God.
really stay focused and and also give them lunch when they need it. And it's like so many
Yeah,
things. Do you have any recommendations for
yeah,
moms who are entrepreneurs, or who are really juggling all of this?
yeah. Well, my recommendation is like to be gentle with yourself. And I'm gonna include myself in that. Like, let's be gentle with ourselves. And um, I used to think before I had children, I think I thought, I was like, oh, I would love to homeschool. I'm like, wow. And they have a lot of work. Well, my daughter, she's in kindergarten, has a lot of work, but it's just like do the best that you can and communicate. If you need to communicate with the teacher, then communicate with the teacher, but allow yourself permission to just do what you can. Like, this is an intense time. It's a big change for the whole family. Making sure that you practice self-care, and if you have a partner or someone else in your household, like if you can support each other to take breaks for yourself, you know. So whether that, like my partner and he'll be like, Kadidja, I need to go meditate, or I'm saying that, and we go on walks together as a family. So getting outside, but we're figuring it out too along with you. And I think now more than ever, it's important to practice gentleness and compassion. And it's a huge change, not just for our household, but for the world. So I think it's not just what you have to do with your kids, but you're probably also, I imagine, as a heart-centered entrepreneur, empath, picking up on the collective field. And so making time to do your spiritual practices. One thing that I am grateful for is I've started doing my morning pages again every day, and that feels great. You know, lighting your candles, be next to your altar, even if it's 2 minutes, if it's 5 minutes, it doesn't have to be, you know, 20, 30 minutes. And I have found, like, I've been doing some virtual co-working recently, and the guide will say, okay, now we have 10 minutes, a 10-minute rapid action session. And I'm amazed how much you can get done in 5 or 10 minutes, because sometimes you think that I need a few hours where everything's quiet, but like a time for concentrated, focused effort, even if it's 15 minutes, can produce, you know, large results. So know that you can do a lot in a short amount of time.
Yeah, there's an interesting thing there too. I feel like sometimes when my time is more compressed, I can actually get more done. So maybe we can even use this as a motivating factor for our,
Yeah,
for our businesses to like
absolutely.
write that Facebook post like you only have 5 minutes before your
I
kids
know.
need lunch.
Yeah,
Do it now.
exactly.
We can maybe turn that on its head a little bit and use it for our for
Right?
everybody's benefit.
Indeed.
Well, this has been so wonderful talking with you, Kadidja. Is there any last thing that it is like bubbling up or feels important to share, or any like, yeah, thing that stands out on your journey that's a good learning experience for all of us?
Yeah, I would say don't forget to take a breath. Taking a few nice deep breaths throughout your day before you send out an email, before you send out a post on social media. Reconnect to your why. Like, why did I start this business in the first place? Why does it matter to me? So for me, even though I help my clients grow their practice and get clients, my deeper mission, my deeper why is to empower women to own their value, right? And so it's a huge opportunity for me to continue owning my value. And so sometimes it's easy to get lost in the to-do list and moving on to the next thing that you want to create in your business. And I just invite you to give yourself permission to slow down, acknowledge the steps that you have already taken, like really acknowledge what you've taken and give yourself time to celebrate it. And connect to your deep why and come from that place and enjoy the process. You signed up for this amazing process because you wanted all of it, and sometimes it's easy to forget.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for that. Really beautiful. Well, I know you have an amazing free gift for everybody, which is the free client creation masterclass. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Thank you. Yes. So this is the free client creation masterclass, and it's going to give you 3 secrets to growing your coaching or healing business, even if you feel shy or nervous to put yourself out there, or you're worried that you don't have a big list or large social media following. I'm going to share with you some ways to appreciate what you do, put it out there to the people that need it, and help you get your sacred calling out there into the world. So I hope you check it out.
Beautiful. So everybody who's listening, if you scroll down just a little bit below this video, you can see the link to click on and go and claim that free gift. And definitely go and grab that. And Kadidja, it's been just a pleasure talking with you today. Thank you for your time, and it's been a lot of fun to have this conversation with you.
It has. Thank you so much, Jocelyn. I thoroughly enjoyed connecting with you and just appreciate your groundedness. Yeah, I loved sharing with you today.
Yes, wonderful. And to everybody out there, I hope you've received so much from this interview, and sending lots and loves and blessings to everyone.
Bye. See you next time.